All right, so let's see. We got folks here. It's 12 o'clock. I'll go ahead and get started as I'm in a class myself. And last night we were at a 7 o'clock meeting, and he's been good about starting at 7 and finishing on time. So, all right. So a couple of things I want to give you an update on is you should be able to see all of your grades now. It was my mistake. I had some windows closed out when I made some changes. So you should be able to see all your grades at this particular time. If you don't, send me an email directly, which ones you don't see that.
Just a forum, just a Module 3 forum, that's it.
Yeah, that you should be able to see it. I checked it all yesterday, then I rechecked it today because I did some changes to Moodle, and I went in as a student and I could see it as a student. So if you can't send it to me individually, your particular one, why it's not happening. Also, going forward for the rest of the semester, we'll meet here on Tuesdays. Every Tuesday, so that'll be today, the 14th, the 21st, and the 28th. I put in the Module 3 forum a forum for you to participate as you feel needed. All right, well, I'm back up. As you feel empowered. It's a set of test questions that I'm asking you. What questions, based on the material we're covering, would expect to have on the test we're having for this module next Friday? I will be posting some. I will pull from what I see in the forum questions, not maybe the exact question, but questions that are covering the same material. For the resources that I have posted, I will be, and I hope by Tuesday, that's why the test is not till next week, by Thursday, excuse me, is to have questions that after you have read or you viewed that video, here are the questions you should be able to answer after having read and viewed materials. We will have a final exam in this class. And it'll be on that same final exam date that it was on the syllabus. It will be a 2-hour time block for you to take. It will be discussion questions. So I'm going to go with my typical, it's probably 4 to 6 questions, and typically somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 4 for full credit, and with some extra bonus questions as well. And so our online test that we'll do, like the module test, they'll typically, right now I've got them planned to open on a Friday and close out on Sunday. So for the first one, it will be next Friday morning at module 3, it will be Friday morning, the 10th at 6 o'clock in the morning, and close out Sunday evening on the 12th. Individually, if for some reason that because of your work or conditions of internet connection or access, those dates aren't compatible with you, you need to let me know by email, and we can make you and I can make an arrangement for you taking that particular test. I will have module 4 open by Thursday afternoon, let's say, to be looking ahead for the materials there. I am in the process, I may be able to scan a chapter or 2 on the material for next time, but I will have all that information to you posted by Thursday. All right, I think that my notes that I'm looking at gets me caught up. So last time we talked about, last thing we left off with was public relations. And what did we say public relations were?
The relationships we make with the public, people we're trying to
and so, okay, but how is public relations different than advertising?
Advertising's paid for.
Okay, and public relations is more about what? What's the word we could use for public relations, or 2 words?
Publicity.
What's that?
Publicity.
storytelling. Did somebody say storytelling?
Yeah.
All right. So we're telling a story in our public relations to build good public relations to either repair something that has occurred in the organization that might be seen as negative or is negative. And so we want to put some good words out in light of that, or to increase our public relations. So I don't know if any of you saw this commercial by Budweiser. Has anybody seen this commercial by Budweiser?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, here you go. I'm going to play it for you. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about who is the audience that they've created this for. And don't just say me or you, but think about the differentiation, what the demographics and or what are those different groups that they may have played for, and listen to it. And I've got about 7 or 8 questions I'm gonna ask you about this going forward. But just set it up as Budweiser has decided to change over their manufacturing to hand sanitizer. They are spending close to, according to the article I read, they're spending close to $4 million plus in doing this. So the commercial that you're about to see is also one that this is made for the United States. There's one made that has references and is made for Canada. So let me get it up here. All right, did everybody see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know how loud it's going to come out your end. So you might be watching. It may come. I don't know how the translate. It may come just whatever loud you have it versus what I have it here. So take a look at this. Can you hear it?
No.
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 Oh.
Nope. All right. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, let's try it one more time. Sorry about that. I'm just learning. Can you hear it now?
Yeah.
This Bud's for the Blues, the Reds, and the Warriors. This Bud's for the Magic, the Athletics, the Giants, and the Jazz. This Bud's for the Trailblazers, the Braves, the Yankees, and the Angels. This Bud's for the home team.
Okay, so who did they design that marketing for Budweiser? What are the groups they designed it for?
Wouldn't it just be Americans, like all Americans?
Okay.
First reporters.
What words did they use that would identify certain groups?
They use team names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody catch that? If you
The
Warriors.
there are 6 baseball teams, 3 basketball, 1 football, and 1 hockey. If you
Giants.
play the one that they made for Canada audience, they add the Canucks.
Hey, Vancouver.
And so, so the audience was for not only the fans of all of those teams, so that's one group, the players of those teams, and yes, everybody in Budweiser putting out a public relations, telling a story of how they are making that connection. If you notice at the end there, it says, somebody back it up there. Yeah, we're shifting our sports investment. And that's what's another term from our end we got that we would look for them to what's another term for sports investment for them?
Marketing.
No. We would go to them and ask them if we were marketers, we'd go to them and be a what for an event?
Supplier.
Sponsor. That's it. When you on that end of it, when sports investments, that's their sponsorships, and that's where some of that money's coming. But they see they've already paid, they've already contracted with teams and with audiences and ESPN and to have that money. So that's where they're pulling their money to produce this. So again, that's an example of public relations where an organization is using what conditions are currently there to have a positive impact and to make their audience, and in those audience there, I would say your audiences are the team members, team owners, the fans of the teams, all of the different workers who are currently working to manage this virus, in the idea that we can come together and solve this current challenge that we have. I thought I'd share that with you if you hadn't seen that. So we're looking at today, what I want to look at is price and packaging. And so pricing and packaging, if you look at the 4 P's of marketing, packaging falls under which P?
Product.
Product. Somebody said it. Don't be bashful. Yes, product. How do you package that product? And so we typically in sports marketing, our product's going to be our tickets, which in effect, yes, are the games as well as the merchandise. And so I've got several examples when we look at that. But what I want to first look at is pricing. And so you tell me what pricing is. How do you come up with a price? What's pricing consist of?
Well, you can use your competitors in order to evaluate what you think your product should be priced at.
Okay. Based on what? What are you going to, when you say your competitor, what are you looking at as it relates to your competitors?
Kind of just like the product and they're selling to see like what do you think your consumers will buy your product over theirs at. So if you need to make it cheaper, you do that. If you need to make it the exact same price, you do that. Kind of just evaluating the factors which makes your product better or what you think should.
And so what are those factors that we're talking about? That's common with all pricing.
On demand.
So remember I put up there, I think last time, or maybe, and of course it's been a while, that formula, I think I've got it on the next slide. This formula where it says customer satisfaction equals benefit minus cost. The bigger you can make that benefit, bigger than the cost, the greater the customer satisfaction. So yes, and when I was working in the grocery field, doing management training there, I used to go out every Wednesday back in the, I would go out every Wednesday to other grocery stores and have a list of items that I would write down. What are they pricing these items for? Bring it back to our store, and then look at changing our prices to compete with them. And that's just basic price differentiation. Thinking we could sell on price differentiation. But as we know today, you can't do that because if you go cheap, lower price, then you end up not having a business organization. So the focus of back to, yes, we want to look at what our competitors are charging, what the cost is, but at the same time, what's the benefit? What is what is the customer, client, fan getting for them putting forth their hard-earned money for that particular product. And so when we take a look at pricing, it's this, it does have a reflection of demand, because right now, I don't know if anybody has gone and been trying to buy a web camera, a camera to do web streaming. About 2 months ago, back in February, I was looking to buy one for myself to start doing some videoing for online classes for the summer and for some other folks that I'm associated with. And I didn't buy one. I thought, well, I'll wait till spring, right before spring break, and I'll have time at spring break. Well, the cameras that were commonly in at the Walmart, at the Best Buy, it's now the earliest I can get a camera is, they're saying it's coming from China, and it is a new one you can buy on eBay, a used one. The earliest I can get one is April. They give me a deadline between April 15th and May 31st. And the price has gone from where it was $99 to the cheapest I can find now is about $159. Same product that was there back in January and February, but the demand has come because there's lots of folks who are looking for web streaming cameras because everybody's at home trying to do that. And if you look at my camera, it's not the best. A lot of you have probably cameras that are much better than mine. It doesn't have as much. Plus, I'd like to have it set where I could show out to the window and things. So this pricing strategy, and then we also have to look down here at anybody know what the fan cost index is? Ever heard of it? Oh, good. We're going to be talking about that today. So when we talk about pricing strategy, we look at this equation here as well as the fan cost index. But what is the demand? And I mentioned to you earlier in the semester that while as marketers, we have no control over team, whether they win or lose. All we can do is put together a marketing package that focus on this idea of benefit for the individuals. So here's some, I always like to go to statistics, meaning this is what's going to challenge us when we go to pricing. So here are some, and I've mentioned it before in class, where colleges are having trouble getting students to attend home games. It's not that they don't go to home football games, they just don't go into the stadium. They're at the tailgate, they get stuck at tailgating. So here is what some folks are doing, some colleges are doing. You can see there in the slide what they are doing as it relates to increasing, trying to get folks there. Or if for instance, if this team's slide increased student no-shows, and so Florida's, you would think everybody'd be in the stands for Florida. Head coach prodded students to show up, and so the head coach at Alabama went out, and so we used him. I'm guessing they used him as a marketing. In Colorado, I don't know what their win-loss record is, but it's the same coach, or they've had 3 coaches in the last 5 years. So apparently that's not a winning season record that's going on there. And then again, we have this new coach over here, and so we take a look at that. And so when we're pricing this, we got to say, what are the factors? And this is one of the factors. Another factor is how many people are participating in those particular activities. Every one of these sports that you see here, they have a concern from the professional level on down to how many people are participating. And we like to catch them at the rec league, because if we can get them hooked on this sport, we've got it for life. And maybe they're not going to go to the professional levels, but then if they're hooked on that sport, they like that sport, they will start buying the jerseys, going to the games, buying the tickets. And so we have to take a look, where's it down? So you can see, look here, again, this is 2008 to 13, what the participation rates are down. And so we have to say, okay, how is it if we got participation rates that are down, that means that not exact that same number, but that means less people will be coming to that particular sporting event, buying that particular sporting equipment or jerseys or paraphernalia going forward. Here is youth sports statistics, and you can take a look here from 2012 to 2018, what the difference is on different youth sports. This does include cheerleading. Let's see down here, ice hockey, lacrosse. So we have to take a look at, is it increasing? But if you look here from 2012 to 2018, all of them are pretty much flatlining. So what does that tell you there from 2012 to 2018? Just in general, what if you looked at that graph, what would that tell you about team sports between 2012 and 2018? As it relates to participation.
It's going down.
What else? Slightly
People are
down.
participating in youth sports.
What's that?
Less
I didn't
people
hear.
are participating in youth sports.
Okay. And so we take a look at this and we say, if it is less, now you got to figure out, why is it less? So let me ask you this. Why would you think it would be less? Just in your own experience, why do you think it might be less?
Kids are
Learned in
staying
other
inside
classes.
more.
What's that?
Kids are staying inside more, playing video games and going outside and playing youth sports.
Okay. So we can blame it on tech, but what you're saying is they're choosing other options than team sports.
Yeah, they're choosing like esports.
Okay. And so would you say, is that Will, is that your voice I'm hearing?
That's Carlos.
Carlos. Okay. So Carlos,
Yeah.
so are you saying that, could we make an assumption, and you know what happens when could we assume that maybe there is a large percentage of folks that would much rather do individual sports than team sports? They're
You
going
can
to
say that.
esports.
Yeah.
You can say, yeah, you can say that.
Okay. All right. So that might be, because you notice this is team sports and it's not talking about individual sports as relates to swimming. And all right, what else? What else can you look at that, and we'd have to understand what else is going on and what caused this, why we don't have this big spike in it. Because if I'm a marketer, team sport equipment and ticket, I'm looking at that and saying, man, I've got to everything. Yeah, we're holding our own, meaning participation. However, we are not increasing. Most
Well, actually,
organizations,
individual sports is actually going down too in that graph.
right here, this one, this light blue.
Mhm.
Yeah, individual sports. And so what do we also need to understand here is what have you heard about the population of youth today as far as number wise? So what was the last, so what's my generation called? Maybe that's a better way.
Baby boomers.
Yeah. So why was it a boom?
Because it was after, wasn't it post World War II?
Uh-huh. And so we had a lot of men come back home, and so a lot of babies were born. I'm thinking, as an aside, I'm thinking this virus might have a baby boomer too coming up after these 3 or 4 months of folks being sheltered in place.
You think?
Nah, you never know. You don't never know. So we have to think about what's the population of youth, but difference, is there a youth population difference in numbers between 2012 and 2018? What has increased? And so Carlos mentioned esports, which yes, that has increased. So again, when we're looking at cost, if we don't have an increase, we've got to figure out when we're pricing things, how is it that we can make from the standpoint of marketing, these lines go up. But again, we have to understand what are the factors that we're up against, not just in pricing and what people like or don't, but what's the participation rate, as in this slide shows. Now, here is from USA Today what people are spending. Now they're calling this elite youth sports. When I found this article, and I did the best I could, could not get to the research. So my assumptions, youth sports, I'm assuming here, is on travel sports and above. And those of you who know soccer, they have there's different levels, and then I think it's called classic is at the very top. Is that right? Anybody know? Is it called classic?
Yeah, kind of like that.
And in that there is a cost because the coach is getting paid, and you have to travel. And so we've got apparently there's funding for that. Now, just as an aside from youth sports, they're taking a hit right now with this virus, as well as all sports. But it's the soccer program here in Brevard. They were thinking they were going to start next week. Now that went out, and they were saying that last week. And they said, no, we're going to go next week. And because I got contacted for how I work with them, and I said, there's no way. I said, y'all don't need to be putting that out. So this idea that, okay, there is money being spent. So we do know that, again, using this to help us with the pricing. And here's some losing interest. You can see here and then the one down at the very bottom, if you look here at the very bottom, and it shows that football tackle has gone up. Now, not sure why. Again, I could not find why that, because you would think football would be a bigger decrease than the others, correct?
Yeah.
Because of the concussion. So we see there are folks, less people are participating in this. And what we know typically, give you another piece of fact, what we know typically is around age 10 years of age, 10 to 11 years of age is when youth either continue in their sport or they drop out. And that's usually what happens around age 10 and 11. In youth sports? Anybody know? So in youth sports, around 10 or 11 is usually where they are moving up to teams where you have to demonstrate a skill where you either make the team or you get cut. And that's where years ago, let me see by your show of hands, I'm looking over here on you. Let me pull your videos over here where I can see you so it doesn't look like I'm looking out the window away from you. So by show of hands there, how many grew up in your youth sports and everybody got a trophy or everybody got some award for participating or playing?
Yep.
And so what we found is that in youth sports that was occurring, but up until around age 10, 9 and 10, that's when the idea came like, well, and a lot of rec programs said, well, we want to, because they thought the idea was that everybody should be winning in all ways. And so that's when travel ball started occurring. And that's when teams could get cut or make it. And that's where some children would say, well, I don't want to play baseball or basketball or football, whatever it is anymore, for that particular reason. So here's some, we call it the FCI, Fan Cost Index. Again, we need to look at that as it relates to pricing. And so if you take a look at this statistics here, as it relates to from 2006 to 2013, the fan, and this number represents a family for the cost for at a National Football League game to go there. Average cost. So if we do some comparison of this, and you can look at in here what the different costs are, as it relates to from AAA ball down to National Hockey League.
What year was this?
This was 2000 and I think 16. It's either 16 or 15.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be like 13 or 14 just from the prices.
Well, if it's my 15, then they grab data from the year 14. And so if you take a look at these, what the cost is, look at the total from play ball all the way down to national. That's just for one game.
Yeah.
And that you would have to peel out that. And again, this is average. Not everybody buys soda and beer, and we all know this. All these prices have gone up, but hopefully the economy has gone up. Everybody gets more money, and that's another factor that in the pricing you have to figure out. Like right now, everybody's struggling, or a large percentage of people are struggling just because they don't have a job. So this fan cost index. Here's how they break it down when they use this, and this is what they're talking about when they use the numbers. 4 average price tickets, 2 small draft beers, 4 small soft drink. Now, where they got this information is averages of what people do at these different games and activities. So if you look at the National Football League, more expensive than Major League Baseball. And so as it relates to, so if we're looking at, okay, what's the cost of somebody to come to our game, and we look at not only other teams. So if I'm at the Redskins and I look at what's Dallas doing, and only look there, but I have to look at also what's hockey, what other sports events in our area. But again, what's the benefit? And that's where we come in as it relates to packaging. We come into play. It's like, how can we package this where they see the benefit? So again, these are just some statistics that we want this benefits to be the greatest because we want it to be much greater than the cost. So we have this increased customer satisfaction. And if we have this increased customer or fan satisfaction, that's more ticket sales, that's more concession sales, that's more out of game, OOG, some folks call it out of game purchases. So they go online and buy a jersey because they like that particular player, or they like that team, or they follow that team now because they like them on Facebook, and then we can use Facebook as a marketing tool as well. So we want to focus on what are the benefits. So when we set this cost, and then, but again, when we set the cost of it, we have to look at all those other parameters that I mentioned in those other slides. Ideally, there's this balance that what do I mean by the consumer price point?
What they'll want, what they can actually pay, or like what they're willing to pay.
Okay, what they see the value in it. In other words, okay, if your game's so somebody tell me, last time you went to a professional sporting event, what was your ticket sale? What was the cost of the ticket?
$34.
How much? How much?
$34.
$34. And
Yeah.
what was the game?
It was an Orlando Magic basketball game.
Orlando Magic, 34.
Yeah.
Upper seats?
Not really. It was not. It wasn't the lowest. Like it was the middle one.
What was it? Was it a regular season game? Anything more interesting other than a regular season game?
No, it was just a regular season game.
Okay, and so it may be for a regular season game that is what folks. Well, it's nothing interesting, but how will the consumer fan? Where is it that they will go and say yes, they will pay 34, but will they pay 40? And this is a question that we always have when we're pricing things. Will they pay 50? Will they see the value or the benefits in that 50? But we also have to balance it out to have this thing called profit, because profit is what keeps the organization going forward. But we don't put it all on the backs of the consumer. We have other sources of income. So, but ideally, that's where you want this. Whatever the price is, that's going to produce that level of profit from that particular sale. So if it's from the ticket sale, you're trying to get a certain amount of profit, or you know that for every ticket sold, each of those will go to our concession stand and we will make X percent profit at the concession stand. So we can have a percentage connection there as it relates to that one particular ticket sale. So here are some things, and you know all of this, but I always like to show this up here, is that where all these that might be priced and that we have to think about and how we package them. And so what is it? So anybody seen a cost to a membership to a fan club? Anybody? I haven't, so that's why I ask. Sorry. So if we talk about purchase of television game packages, anybody bought a game package on their home work? So if we take a look at all of these, we got to figure out what's the value. And so parking, how many? So who have you got? Who's gone before, and what parking prices have you paid?
I went to a Panthers game and the parking was like $50, and it just was like $70 if you wanted to get right outside the stadium.
50 to 70. And so did in going there, anybody else?
Dallas Cowboys. It was a walk and it was like $40 still.
$40. Okay. Anybody else? So those of you who have gone, or those of you who might go to one, is the cost of the parking, does that, how big a factor does that play into whether you're going to or not?
Huge. Trying to get parking near Fenway is bad.
So, but the parking cost, does that play a factor in? Not so much if you can get a parking, but the parking cost.
Yes, huge.
Huge? Oh, anybody else?
Yeah, I agree.
Huge? So
Mhm.
much so that the parking cost would possibly, if it was at that point where you said, oh, I'm not going to pay $80 to park, you wouldn't go to the game?
Correct.
All right. So those are the kinds of questions we want to have, is like parking. So how much do we, and we know that most of the parking at professional events is contracted out. In other words, they contract out a company to provide that, but the sport teams franchise typically have some in that contract will stipulate what the price can be and how much it can or cannot be increased for certain types of games, certain times of games and times of year games. So, and then concessions, same thing, it's contracted out. But again, concessions, what's your expectations for a hot dog and a drink at a concession stand? Price.
I mean, we just have to accept that it's like a hot dog, like, I don't know, $8.
Okay. Yeah.
Pay for
So
it.
you accept it because it's there, you're at the game. There would be if it did go up, and if a hot dog's $8, you went back the next time and the hot dog was $20. Are you eating a hot dog?
No.
Yeah. No. And so so some of these are built in. So the benefit that people see is that if it's the event, sometimes the benefit of just being there is part of that particular event, that game, that experience. The rest of it, pricing, yeah, it has some consideration, but not as much as just being the benefit of being there, being part of that particular experience. So pricing in one of your forum postings, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we talked about dynamic pricing. And so we talk about dynamic pricing. What's the difference between dynamic and static? If I say there's dynamic pricing and static pricing, what's the difference between the two?
Static
Yeah.
pricing is pretty much the same price. It doesn't really fluctuate too much.
What'd you say, Tristan?
I would say that static pricing would be pretty much the same, not much fluctuation in the price.
Okay.
And then I guess the other one would be,
Dynamic.
I guess it would be a pretty major fluctuation in the prices.
Yeah. And so that dynamic, yeah, and that's exactly static pricing is we price it as $50, and regardless of what the conditions are, what the weather is, time of year, time of day, it's still going to be $50. However, dynamic pricing is, and you take a look up here, all of these 5 plays into this dynamic. What are the marketing conditions? Is, you know, the higher the demand, the higher the price. The lower the demand, the lower the price. Right now, if you're looking for an automobile, listening to my business channel this morning, automobile sales are off. They are so far off that companies are trying all kinds of things where they'll deliver it to you and you can test. They'll deliver the car to your house. You can come out and test it over, and they will drive it back whether you want it or not. All those kinds of things. So the demand of it, and my guess is pricing is going to come down as well. Assuming everybody has plenty of toilet paper and hand sanitizer, because if you go to try to find any today, and I'm surprised they haven't, but we do have, just as an aside, everybody understands when in the United States, when the county, state, or the federal government puts in a state of emergency, that sets in laws where you can't gouge people. Meaning I can't go, and if I've got, there was a gentleman, I don't know if you saw, who went out back in, when he saw this coming, he went and bought some in the neighborhood of 15,000 things of hand sanitizer, and then started selling them for triple the price on eBay. And he's been found out. And so all of this, whether the team's winning or losing, are going to be the dynamics of how you sell that. So every season, I see Michael's got some jerseys hanging there. So every season, as far as our sport teams, they typically have different jerseys because we want something different for the next year, so the fans will buy another one. If we kept it the same, then maybe it's not. Oh, the Lakers! I see the Lakers there. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Is that is that a polar bear?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have the Cavs jersey on too. This is kind of old.
Oh, that's old. Yeah, it's probably a collector's item.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, and so we want to make all of the dynamics of what would make that. And I've got some examples coming up here in just a minute. Here, why do tickets vary? Here are many different, not all the price reasons, but here are different. So seat location. We understand that. Location of the venue. That wherever that's happening, because it could be that, boy, I want to be at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I want to be at that brand new first day that the Dallas Cowboy opened up their new venue. The first day the New York Yankees had their, so it could be just the venue. And because of that first day and it's new and it is the Yankee Stadium, we're going to be able to charge a premium for that. Or scarcity of tickets. Top athletes. You have athletes that are who are the MVPs, or they're the players who are what some refer to as Mr. Excitement or Mrs. Excitement for that. And as well as unsold tickets, what they call deadwood. It's like, okay, what do we do with these unsold tickets? And a lot of organizations, a lot of sports teams will take those unsold and donate them to youth groups and or organizations the day of that particular event. All right. So why do sales slump? So here's some, but what I want you to see what's in red. I want you to look at there is that where it says we in the sports business don't sell the game, we sell the emotional experiences.
All about the experience.
It's all about the, and so how do you make it fun? Benefit. And so, and you know, that's Mark Cuban. You may or may not be a fan of him, but what I what I took from this and reading the other parts of that article I pulled this from is that we have to create, the more, he didn't say benefit, but the greater the emotional experience, the greater we have a connection with those fans, the more they will come back to us. When it comes down to, do I go to event A or event B, that connection, that emotional experience. And so that emotional experience, how we make that, that will drive the price and whether the fan will pay for particular experience. And that experience not only in the games, but it could be that experience of going and buying that particular merchandise that now is on sale. Very much like the Apple. I don't know how many of you are Apple iPhone users, but for lots of people who, when the new iPhone comes out, they'll be the first to stand in line. It's a culture. They've got a phone they bought a year ago, and a new one comes out, and Apple does this purposely, and they'll be the first in line to buy another one just because they want that new to have that emotional experience of, I've got this new one. And we take a look at digital experience, and we'll talk about social media a little bit later, but we talk about what social media can do and how that can, for lack of better words, precipitate my behavior as a fan to consume what you're trying to sell me as relates to ticket sales and or merchandise. So when we say down here where it says fans want to engage throughout the year, the research showed is that they want to be engaged. They want to hear from you. And so we've used social media to keep them in contact, keep them. And we also will do in pricing, we might price earlier in the year to have preseason tickets or pre-order these particular items that we're selling for next year. But the research shows that they do want to, even outside the year. Anybody connected with Asheville Tourist on Twitter? Well, Asheville Tourist, I am connected with them. And so they have been putting out several tweets and is talking about how they're missing they're not missing the game, they're missing their fans. And they are attempting to stay engaged with the fans and let them know what's coming. And then they are producing some videos to take a look at to keep them engaged. And so here are some other, as far as tickets, here's some others. And this is the dynamic nature of that pricing. Again, I go back to the example I gave, I've probably said it several times, where I'm at one of the group ticket sales for individuals for the Charlotte Hornets. And he mentioned that he was making over 300 cold calls a week to sell. And he said he could not base his sales on whether the team was winning or not. But he knew his fans were basing their buying the tickets on that. So he had to figure out what are other factors, what are other benefits that I could let them know about that particular game that he was trying to sell. And he did a very good job. He was promoted within a year up to the next management level. And so weather, but there are some fans. Anybody here a Green Bay fan?
My brother is.
Yeah, and Green Bay, they love to be in there in the snow. Them playing football and being in the stands. Am I too far? Am I far off on that, Tanner?
No, they like that too.
Oh, they do. They do like that. It doesn't matter. That weather's fine for them. And so I can remember years ago when they went to the Super Bowl, I think it was Super Bowl, where they brought in snow on the sidelines for them just because, you know. And so, again, time of day, luckily we have lights that can do nighttime. Who the opponent is? And playing against somebody who is another team that hasn't won, and people may not be as interested in it if both of them have both teams have winning records or they have no losses, and so somebody's going to come away from there with a loss. And then player trades or injuries. So all of this is that dynamic. This changes, and hopefully we can stack all this up. But even when the weather is impacting it, we got to figure out how do we, in our pricing of these, and the dynamic means we can change that pricing. We change it. What promotional offers do we have? That will, and I'll show you some examples in just a minute. But this last one, this emotional attachment by the customer is probably one of the more important ones. But if we can do all of this, we can get that emotional attachment from that consumer. Here's the Bills.
Yes, sir.
Buffalo Bills. Any Buffalo Bills fans?
Yeah, right. Hometown team.
Well,
really.
This is 2017. This is their dynamic ticket pricing structure that they announced. And so what I want you to pull away from here is down here where it says they have this new dynamic ticket pricing model, and that will adjust tickets to better reflect the demand. So what are they really saying there? To reflect the demand. They're saying, well, we want to make it pricing for you to attract you to come within you see as value for that price. And so down here it says 5 pricing tiers. Games are categorized based upon opponent and time of year. So as they look at price, they look at teams that are probably going to have higher price. Those teams that they're rival with, those teams that they can't stand each other, those teams that if it is 2 teams that they know it's going to be going into it, they know that playing that team is going to be a pushover, might have a different price. Or if they know that it's early on and not many people come out to the preseason games, and it's in a different venue where sometimes they like to do that. So this is just an example of that dynamic pricing structure that they did in 2017 for this particular professional team. Again, basing it upon all these different factors with the hope that this stadium here gets filled up. So summarizing this demand is we take a look at the opponent, day and time of games, holidays, promotions, and still all of this, remember, we're doing this before the season, but it is decided demand base is that dynamic pricing. We can change it based upon all of these, some of these factors for our pricing. And so here are some sort of in summarizing what we just went over is that pricing differentiation. Let me ask you a question. What's bundling mean?
Putting things together.
Yeah, I was gonna say keeping things
like
together.
what?
Like
what might you bundle together?
like jackets when it's wintertime, or gloves or hats, scarves, I guess, for when it's cold.
So
Or like
bundle a
bundle a deal.
jacket. What's
Or
that?
like even the stuff you put up at your house for Christmas time, you're gonna bundle all your Christmas stuff together, like the lights, for example, and the Christmas tree ornaments and stuff like that, decorations. You're gonna bundle it together, save it for the month of December, and then put it away again for most of the year.
Well, think about that from a pricing. So if you're selling something, how do we bundle something that would differentiate the price on the bundle versus individual?
Like package different
So give me an example.
different promotions.
Like
Give me an example.
for Easter coming up. Easter's coming up in a couple of weeks, a couple of days now, I guess. And people are going to put like chocolate together. They're going to put Easter decoration together. They're going to put all different kinds of eggs, designs, and creative, like cool things that show that it's Easter and that they're coming with bunnies. So they'll put those together and put them on, give out deals and whatnot.
Okay, so you're talking. So in that example, what you're suggesting is there are people they Easter egg industry
Yeah.
bundle it in where I could go and just pick up the basket Easter egg basket, and it has everything in there that would be common for, versus going out and me saving me time and energy to buy specific items to create my own.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's an example. What about in sports? How would you bundle a package for a game that's going to happen during the season? What kind of bundles might you do?
You could do like you pay for the ticket, and with the ticket, you're also paying for like a free hot dog and like 20% off of like merchandise at the same time.
Okay.
Sometimes they give out little hand towels at hockey games, from what I've found, or T-shirts at basketball games.
Okay. All right. Yes, all those are examples of that bundling, because now it becomes oh man, it's a benefit. Oh, I get to go on this game. I'm going to get a towel. This game, I'm going to get this new hat, this bobblehead at this particular time. And so we price it in such a way that when we bundle it, we bundle in a way, what is it in there that might them just versus just buying a ticket. And then if we buy a ticket, then we have them there. So I think I've got some yeah, I just get that in just a moment. So promotion strategy. I think we've had that before, but remember direct interact, and we'll get to these in just a minute. But in this, how do we promote? Let me go back here. So we got pricing, now we have promotion. So this promotion strategy that we're going to do is going to help us, it's going to be, not help, excuse me, it's going to be related to that pricing. Because we got to, in the promotion, what are we focusing on? What do we say we want to make bigger than cost? To get customer satisfaction, what do we want to make bigger than cost? What was that formula?
The experience.
No, what was the formula at the beginning of the class?
Benefit minus cost?
Yeah, benefit. So we want to make, so in promotion strategy, what we're really saying is, well, there's the price. We've looked at what we're going to do. Now, how do we sell that? How do we promote that? And what we promote is really the benefits. And it doesn't matter if you're doing this for your sport team or if it's for a sport league. Yes, I'm going to have put together a program for a Little League soccer team. I'm going to have a price, but what I'm going to really promote is what's the benefit of that participant, that youth, and their experience that they're going to have. I'm going to promote that. So parents are going to see that and go, oh, they'll see that benefit. And typically we don't use the word benefit, but we use those promotion words that would say you're going to increase their skill, knowledge. We have folks who have been through this soccer program who are now playing at the college level. Those kinds of things that folks will see and can relate to that benefit, and therefore the cost that you put, but then becomes smaller, whereas that benefit. And so we do that through direct and indirect communication. And so we'll look at these here in just a moment. So we talked about the promotion strategy last time. We've talked about all of these options and how do we do these and channels here. And so the idea where it says promotions must be strategic, what do we mean by strategic? And just, I guess I should say this in all fairness to you, ask a question, then you should expect that on a test to be able to. So let me go back to that formula. The formula, the customer satisfaction equals benefits minus cost. I should be able to put that on a test, and you should be able to write, oh gosh, 2 or 3 pages on it, but to explain what that is and give examples of how that would influence what you do in pricing. So promotion, what's strategic mean?
Properly placed.
Okay, if it's properly placed.
Researched.
Research, yes, what else? Strategic. We already talked about this once in early in the semester.
You're
I
finding
hear
out what
somebody,
they want,
but
what they
I,
need.
what's that?
You're kind of like discovering through research what the consumers want slash need in order to like get your point across, or get your product across to their mind, thinking that they need what you're selling.
Okay, so yeah, that's what's supporting the strategy or strategic. So what's the strategic is, if you're strategic about that, all that research that you've just accomplished, you know who your customer is, what their demographic is. So now that's the foundation research. The strategic that you're going to do is, how are you going to take that and use that knowledge, all of that, for instance, all of those early slides that I have as relates to the statistics. Now, how do I take that and put that into strategically use that for promotion? So that now comes your strategy. So going back to I showed you in there, it said the what fans are paying for as it relates to the different sports. So strategically, I can use that to start saying, well, if that's what they're putting together for all of that, then my strategy might be that I would utilize it for bundling for my packaging, my bundling that particular event, because it would now, the price of it would be, the benefit would equal that price, where I see what folks are currently paying for. So when we talk about promotions must be strategic, must be that the strategies are based on all that research that all of you mentioned. And when we talk about integrated, it means that there's strategies that you use that you see over here on the right-hand side. They all must be incorporated. So like if I'm using a website, or if you're using a website as part of the strategy, one of your strategies within that website, and some of you who, those who've been in my technology class know that in your website, I've had you create a link to your newsletter. That's a strategy that we're going to integrate the newsletter. All of these are not just one-offs, meaning I do a website, then I do brand. All of it's strategically connected in that. So at that website, yeah, I have my newsletter connection where you can click on there and subscribe to the newsletter. Some of you have been to websites where you've done that. In the social media, I'm going to have all of the different social media icons there, so you can connect with me by Twitter, by LinkedIn, by Facebook, by Instagram, all of those that I think as a marketer, my research shows that you connect to. So this integrated means that these is just not one off. We connect all of these, and whatever our brand is, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. Branding, whatever our brand is, it's going to look the same. Doesn't matter where I'm at, the website, the brochure. And so when we talk about branding, what comes to mind when you hear the word branding?
Where you place your brand and how you.
So what is your brand? What comes to mind when we say, what is the brand?
Logo.
Logo. Okay, so logo. What else?
Well, then how you present your product or service.
Yeah.
Okay, how you present it, but
Also, what people know you by. It's how you're recognized by the
Oh, yeah.
consumer as a whole.
and so they recognize you by.
By your brand image, what you are known as, what your reputation is.
Okay, so and we can do that through a site. Can we do it through site?
Yeah.
Can we do it through sound?
Yeah.
Can we do it through text?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that branding, a lot of people think of it as just the logo
Or the yeah.
or the I've lost my thought. What you see, but it's also how I read about your particular organization, the word you use and the method and how you convey information to me, as well as the sounds. And then, again, you create those in your own way in that particular organization. So all of these are connected. That's the integrated. And how we communicate this, how we communicate will be, we decide strategically which one are these going to be. Are we going to use all of them? or we're not going to do direct marketing, or we're not going to do special events. So how do you communicate this to folks to let you know you are doing that? And then one that a lot of times is overlooked is evaluated, that we have to look at the end of the marketing campaign, marketing year, the marketing season, evaluate, did it accomplish? Did we have whatever we want in social media? So let's say you did social media and your goal may be to have, I don't know, 1 million viewers of your particular, and so you have to go back and evaluate it. Did you have 1 million? And the reason, and then I would have to ask you, if you told me that you would look to have 1 million, you didn't. My question would be, why 1 million? And so in your research, you would have looked at and you would have said that this is the research that shows that at 1 million level, that gets you this result. And whatever the result is, it relates to your particular goals for that particular organization. All right. So let me see if this was, okay. So here is esports director, and about how they use esports to help organizations with their branding. It's a short little video here. Anybody ever seen him before? Okay. So just listen to what he's saying as it relates to what esports does for different companies. And
Millennials and Gen Z are particularly difficult to reach. A lot of people call them the unreachables.
can you hear it?
The main reason for that is because their media consumption is very different.
Can you hear it? All right, let me.
Yeah, we can hear it.
I lost sound here on mine. Hold on a minute. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna try it again.
Millennials and Gen Z are particularly difficult to reach. A lot of people call them the unreachables. The main reason for that is because their media consumption is very different than with other generations before. They are all digital and they don't watch TV, and so it becomes very difficult for brands to actually have a conversation with these audiences. And so the way to get them is actually to be on the right channels where they are, but actually tell an authentic story to them. And so that's what we try to do through esports, is to actually help brands to tell that story to our audience. I think that the combination of those elements will help brands to actually engage in a very authentic way to the audiences. The Gen Z and millennials are very quick, and young millennials are very quick at spotting brands that are just doing something on top, typical advertising, spending dollars on pushing their brand, to brands that are actually deep integrated into a product. So they spot that very quickly, and they react very quickly in social media, and they're very loud. So actually, brands need to be very careful in this space, because they need to, really focus on the right things. Otherwise, the perception could be quite negative.
Okay, millennials and Gen Z, is he on the right mark?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of that comes from that research that we're talking about. And he mentioned in here having the right channel. So we got to figure out, where are the millennials? Where did you say they're not getting their information? What are they not watching?
News.
TV. He didn't say news, he said TV.
TV.
All right. So, and it talks about having storytelling, what we've already talked about, but he added the word authentic. What is authentic storytelling? What is it, using the word authentic associated with storytelling? What does that tell you? What does that mean to you? Authentic.
Nothing but the truth.
Okay, the truth. Okay.
And
What else? What's that?
meaningful.
Yeah, meaningful. So authentic is that, yes, it's truthful, it's meaningful to the audience I'm delivering it to. He said that you millennials and Gen Z are loud. What does he mean by that? And using social media. He referenced it in using social media, that you're loud.
We need to be heard. We need to be understood, and we want to have a voice.
Okay. Yeah, but go beyond that as relates to he referenced in telling your story and using the social media, but he said when somewhere around at the end of that, he said, yes, but Gen Z and are loud in social media. Yes,
We're the most prolific
They're active.
in social media. No one
prolific.
uses, nobody
DJ,
uses
what'd you say?
We're the most of been active in using social media.
Yeah, you're active and you're very quick to post something as you read something or see something, post it, good, bad, or indifferent. You're very quick about that. And you just put it on there. And when I say you, not you individually, but collectively with social media, everybody does. We just put things out there very quickly. And there's a, find it here. Hold on. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, boy, boy. I'm looking for my book. Hold on. He was sitting on it. I can't find it out, but there's a book. Oh shoot. All right, I'll quit trying to look for it. But it's a book that talks about using social media. It doesn't take very long to cause a stir, one individual to cause a stir or to gather people together over a certain cause. And so in this whole social media aspect where now you and I can become authors, you and I can become leaders of people we don't even know. And we have that crowdsourcing now that we have on there where you and I could go in there and we could put in there that I need and tell my story and I need $1 million because I've got this going on in my life, and very quickly people very quickly will see that and they will donate. And so this idea of being very loud is the idea is that this generation, we know that. So if we know that, then what we put out as marketers, and if that's our population, we need to make sure that it is authentic. And we do tell those stories that does engage the individuals. If not, that, and he also mentioned, he said, this generation, these two generations are quick to spot top brands. And what lies underneath that he's referring to is you're very quickly to spot those that are authentic and who are not authentic brands and what they do. And then he goes on to say that, yes, you are very loud to let folks know. So you can't say you're one thing and then come to find out that your organization is doing something else. It goes back to that integrated marketing plan that we just discussed. I'm going to skip this one because here we go. So this idea of marketer, and remember, it's nothing more than the same communication. Those of you who had speech class, you've seen this before. The marketer is the sender, the targeter is the receiver. How do you send that? How do they receive it? How do I interpret that? The words, the pictures, the sounds that you use are all important in that message that you're trying to get to that target market. Hold on a minute. That's where I see our time's coming up. I'll put on. So when we talk about bundling and packaging, here are some different ways that different organizations have packaged. And so this mega sports pack here has different items all within that. This is Notre Dame. Any Notre Dame fans out there? No Notre Dame fans? Well,
I'm watching a documentary on the football team right now, but I'm not a fan.
What's that?
I said I'm watching a documentary on the football team from the 2015 season right now, so it's kind of cool to see.
Okay. Well, this Notre Dame, you could bought this package, and so they bundled this. They bundled this with a season ticket, or not season ticket, with a ticket, and so a ticket and to a game, and you got all of that at the same time. So again, that's an example of bundling. 5 different ways to gift a ticket, and that is, if you click when you go to that site, you can find more ways to where they bundle the tickets. And then the idea of gifting it is another one that a lot of folks have used. Anybody bought these Puma? Talk about packaging. And so if we're talking about packaging of an item such as this, that looks pretty cool to me.
Oh, yeah.
Almost electric, has lights on it. But again, it attracts the attention, and somebody has made the decision that that shape of that box, because you know, it's not a square box. It has a shape, it has color. It's related to that. Probably whoever bought these, my guess is they probably still have that box sitting in their closet. They package tickets in this way as well, where it was this flip chart, and you could just rip off the tickets for each of the different.
A lot of those calls could be very simply dealt with by saying, "Oh, my God, call us back."
I didn't, whoever that was, it didn't come all the way through. So either closer to your mic. Was it Christian?
I think that was my dad.
Oh, okay. All right. Tell him he can join us.
Ooh,
Anybody bought these?
those are nice.
They're nice. Who said?
Yeah. Yeah, those are nice.
So who makes these?
Nike.
Really cool.
Whoop, I'm sorry. Nike makes those
Yeah, soccer.
soccer shoes.
Yeah.
And again, it probably people look at that box and it's soccer shoes. I'm a person who needs soccer shoes. It is Nike, but boy, look at that packaging, and that might just cause me to say, hey, I want to have those shoes. And probably the people who bought those, again, they probably have that box still in their closet. And here was a history packet that was to honor Vince Carter. And in that package, they put together those four, I think it was for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tickets that you would buy. And then there was some food and some T-shirts in that package that you could buy for Vince Carter. So it's bundling, some examples of bundling your particular product. And so what I want to finish up, I see our time is over. So let me finish up here with branding, direct and indirect channels and social media marketing. That's